Hello, everybody. Welcome to Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and on the first of two C.O.T.Cs before the Game Week 38 deadline, I'm delighted to be joined by, firstly, our Fulham correspondent at the Tinkermen, Dara Curran. How are you, Dara?
Not too bad, all things considered. Thanks, James. How's everyone?
Good man. Fine, thank you. And we're also joined by our Newcastle correspondent at FPL_footballer, Simon Bibby. How are you, Si?
Doing all right, James. Thanks.
You liar. We were meant to start recording 3 hours ago, and Si had a beer in his hand then, so he might be pissed by the time this ends. So if you're asking for Newcastle FPL assets, expect positive praise, I think. Dara, we must start with you, mate. I think the three of us had this podcast lined up probably 2-3 months ago, thinking, yep, that's going to be the biggest game in Game Week 38. And we're here, and it's not. How you feeling, mate?
I've come to terms with it now. I think that last-minute goal against Arsenal that we conceded, that was just it for me. I probably already had it in my mind going into that game that we were done. We didn't come out with anything from the Villa, Leeds and Wolves game. I thought we needed to win at least one, if not two of those, or come away with something. So we're down. That's it at the moment. But when we last spoke, we were looking at the fixtures and the form that we were in, and I think both teams just seem to be kind of trending in opposite directions. And then fair play, Newcastle have pulled something out of the bag. They've got a bit of form and got the points on the board, and we've just gone out without a whimper. Just since that win at Liverpool, we've done nothing.
Well, we last spoke to you before you played at Villa, which was just after Newcastle had obviously lost at Brighton and were horrendous. And me, you and Adam Hotcroft basically all agreed that we thought Fulham might nick that at Villa. You went 1-0 up. And I think not winning that game felt like the turning point where, because Newcastle had played before you as well and got a very deserved draw late against Tottenham. That was the least they deserved from that game. Yes, I agree. Then it felt like literally just in the space of that afternoon, the momentum swung. Where something psychologically, at the end of that game at Villa, you defended with panic, which we hadn't seen from you in months.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just shit the bed. Like that's what's happened. I mean, Parker, he's usually quite good at seeing out games, but I'm not sure what's happened in that one. They just froze, just lost it. What was it? 9 minutes or so, 3 goals conceded.
Yeah,
give or take. It was pretty bad.
Villa side that had been looking pretty poor previously as well. Didn't look like.
I don't think they had a shot on target up until that point as well. That was the thing. Yeah, that was really punch in the gut, that game.
Them Wolves was another smack in the teeth, wasn't it?
Don't talk to me about Wolves. They've done us no favours all season. Anytime we needed a result from them, they've done nothing. They've beaten us twice 1-0.
And then you alluded to the Arsenal game as well, where I think that was the first time as well I was then on top going, actually Parker's got to accept this, because you finished with a ridiculous formation at Arsenal, which was basically like 6-3-1, just grimly hanging on. And the one was Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It was, we've got the goal, we are going to leave here with 1-0 or nothing, basically. And eventually it bit you.
Yeah. That was killer, absolute killer, especially just so late in the game.
And for yourself, Si, it's gone the other way, mate. Starting with that Tottenham game, you changed system, because we spoke to you before Brighton and it looked bleak, and then watching you that night, it looked even more bleak. I mean, if you'd have said to me watching that game, Newcastle would do what they do in these remaining games, I never would have believed you. You looked absolutely fucked, mate. But changed the system, and bar the Arsenal game, you've played quite well since.
Yeah. Every game, I think there's been something in it or about us apart from that Arsenal game. But just on Dara's point, I can pinpoint exactly why your form started to tail off, and it was because it was that Villa game that in my FPL team I started almost exclusively picking players that were playing Fulham, just because at that point I kind of couldn't be bothered with my season. So I thought I'll get a couple of Villa lads in, and then that worked. And I think the next week I got Neto in. He got injured, but you still drop points, so it worked. And that's carried on for most of the season. So if you want to blame me for relegating you.
I'm fascinated to hear what Arsenal player you bought the following week.
Oh, no, I wouldn't touch Arsenal. Terrible. Except for Joe Willock.
Why has it changed then, Si? Because not only have the results been good, the performances have been very good.
Well, I mean, you can look at what Bruce has been banging on about all season, which is he's not had his best players available. And I think around that time, you started to get some of the guys back. So Wilson came back before he got injured for a couple of weeks again. St. Maximin, Almiron was playing well, and then he picked up an injury and missed a couple of weeks. But I think really like the signing of Joe Willock, like just transformational in terms of what he's been able to do for us in the second half of the season. And half of his goals were coming late off the bench for like 5-10 minutes, particularly that Spurs game. He must have loved that, seeing a gooner coming off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely thrilled. But then late goal against Liverpool, winning goal against West Ham. I mean, four points worth of goals from a low knee against sides that had aspirations to finish in Champions League places, or at least European competition, were massive for you. And Fulham haven't had that sort of player all season that would score goals from midfield.
No. You got Loftus-Cheek at the start of the season. We got Joe Willock halfway through, and
I mean, Alisson for Liverpool has as many goals as Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So that discussion.
Not as many as Joel Linton though. He's banked a few in recently as well. He gets a lot of stick on this pod when I come on, but fair play to him. I think he's played all right.
Go on then, defend him.
That was a good penalty he took. I've seen a lot worse penalties this season. He's shooting more. Last time he came on, I went on a 5-minute rant, I think, about him just refusing to shoot.
Yeah.
So like he's decided that he's going to have a shot once in a while. So that's good for a striker. Pretty happy with that. But I think
he's actually done all right. I agree.
Yeah. I still don't think we found his best position. I don't know if he knows what his best position is. It's not up front. It's not as a winger. I don't know. In the split forwards, I think it kind of works. But I see our split forward formation as being more of a defensive setup. When we go attacking, it's not really that. But yeah, he's done all right. Like I see him on the team sheet now, and it's not, I don't get the same reaction I do when I see Hendrick on the team sheet. So that he's still bottom of the list for me in terms of squad players at the moment. But no, happy. I think if you look back at our previous couple of seasons, it's a pretty similar story. Around February, March time, we always look like we're in the shit. Club's in absolute chaos, and then pull a few results out, and then towards the last few games of the season, we're coasting.
As this period, this must have been better than what you. I mean, the performance at Leicester is ridiculous, mate. You were 4-0 up and basically deserved to be. So I mean,
did not expect that.
That's not. I mean, that's the sort of one where I think, like Suj mentioned it on the podcast. One of the ones we did this week, and said that there's a little bit of thought of what the Newcastle fans want, because you watch that at Leicester and you think we're playing some beautiful football. You're absolutely ripping them apart in the counter-attack, which most teams have not been able to do to a very good side this season. And you reflect it and go, there's still some moaning about Bruce's after-match interview and stuff. So what do Newcastle fans want?
Oh, where do I start? Well, we can start with Bruce. It's interesting you mentioned his post-match interviews and some of the comments he's made. Like even this week, he was saying stuff about the fans and then had to backtrack on it because he realised obviously someone in the Newcastle PR team has said to him, like, can't really call out the fans like that. It felt like he's taken so much shit this season that he got to a point where he felt like, oh, actually, I'm doing well now. I've just picked up my manager of the month award and I'm going to have a pop at the fans. Like, when has that ever worked? Like, what kind of level manager do you have to be to have a pop at your own fans and think it's going to work? Like, he's not in that bracket of, like, Pep could probably turn around to City fans and say something. A few other managers, but not fucking Steve Bruce. Like, who does he think he is? But I think it's more than Bruce. It's a systemic issue with the club, which has been borne out this week, actually, given all the positivity. I don't know if you saw the comments from St. Maximin talking quite honestly about the future of the club and where it should be.
Yeah, that's it.
And and I think that's like, I mean, if I didn't love St. Maximin before, him just coming out and saying that, like, he could leave this summer and no fan would like begrudge him. Hope he doesn't, but it could happen. I just think this is such a pivotal off-season for us. And I said it last year, and it's Groundhog Day. We're exactly the same situation as last year. Potential takeover happening. Players hopefully don't leave. What's the transfer budget? What's going to happen? Are they going to move up? I think we've got the nucleus of a good team. And we've had some pretty shocking injuries this season. But I think part of that is Bruce's You know, you could lay that at his door and his medical staff. Compared to what we had previously under Benitez, the injuries have been really bad. It's do or die for this club this summer. Like, is the takeover going to happen? And if it doesn't, is it going to move forward? Because we can't have another season of doing the same thing again. And the players are now coming out and saying they're not prepared to accept another season of this.
So if a takeover doesn't happen, and I know you want to talk about that a bit more, and we can. But if a takeover doesn't happen, I mean, it's clear Mike Ashley's not going to suddenly go, right, fuck it, I'll spend 100 million this summer net profit. It's obviously he's not going to do that. So it will be a repeat, won't it? Because he's not going to sack Steve Bruce now, is he? Steve Bruce is going to be your manager first day of next season.
Yeah. Yeah. If Ashley's still here, Bruce will still be here. You just want manager of the month. Come on. That's a trophy in some eyes.
What odds would you have given me after that night you lost to Brighton that Steve Bruce would be April manager of the month?
I mean, I was quite surprised that he won it. We put in some good performances, but I'm pretty sure we lost a game in April, didn't we? Pretty sure we lost a game in April. To be honest, I've kind of checked out about 6 weeks ago when I saw Fulham just shit in the bed, as Dara said. I kind of knew that we would just end up having the end of the season that we have. I'm like really pleased with the performance and stuff. But yeah, I did think we would have an upturn in form with the players coming back and some of the fixtures that we had. We obviously picked up results where no one would expect us to, pretty much thanks to Joe Willock scoring those late goals. It's just like, I don't know, where's the club go from here? I think we're in danger of going backwards rather than just staying where we are.
But then I would look at it and go, since Graham Jones coming as a coach, actually it's been on the upwards trajectory, mate. If the takeover doesn't happen in the summer, which I suspect it probably won't at the moment, certainly by the time the season starts, it's probably unlikely.
It's not going to happen because the Premier League is the lawyers have kiboshed it. They've pushed it back. They're looking for extensions and things, so they're basically doing it, and it's in the hands of the lawyers now. So it's just lawyers battling lawyers to the point where they're stalling decisions and releasing information to the point where it gets into the start of next season, and no one wants to buy a club halfway through a season. This is what's going to happen.
Do the Saudis still want to buy the club? Is that your understanding?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Everything is in place for it to happen, except the Premier League is now in a slightly different situation than it was last time, because now Super League shit happened. And all of those 6 clubs that were adamant that this takeover was not going to happen, I think all of that stuff has come to light now. And you've actually seen the true power of what these 6 clubs have over the Premier League. And now the Premier League's in a position where it could turn around to those 6 clubs and say, well, fuck you. Like, we did you a solid, essentially, by not allowing the top 6 power shift dynamics to happen. And I'm not saying it's all down to Newcastle, obviously, but like their response was, well, fuck you, we're going to leave anyway and set up a European league. So you think on some level that the power shift from those 6 clubs to the other 14 clubs would happen. I mean, realistically, it's probably not. And the one opportunity I think that they've got in the short term to do that is to let one of the other clubs in on the party, so to speak.
Okay. Dara, what's happening at your club at the moment off the pitch? You mentioned that you might have some concerns with the relationship between Scott Parker and Tony Khan, who's doing very good things in AEW, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his hand in a lot of different pots. I think that's part of the problem. He's got the Jags, Fulham, and AEW, and I don't know how somebody can invest enough time into all 3. Seems to be a bit of an absentee owner. And while we're losing and we're getting relegated, there's nothing tweeted from their end. But he's happy to tweet away about AEW the whole time. And that's just kind of pissing off fans even more. Parker came out after one of the games and said there was no communication between them and they hadn't sat down and discussed anything concrete about how next season was going to go. And then the Cans got pissed off about that and said that there had been communication that wasn't true, and that they had passed on a message through like Alistair McIntosh or someone else at the club for him. It's like, Jesus Christ, lads, pick up the phone and talk to each other. It's not that complicated. So I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing a lot more will probably come out. I think like Khan said that they couldn't sign a striker because they spent 4 million on Terence Congolo in whatever it was, August or September or whatever time the deadline was this year. And he was injured at the time. He didn't play till like February or something like that. So that's a bad decision in the first place. Then
he played one game against Wolves and he got injured again, didn't he?
And he got injured and out for the rest of the season. So, and that was the same last year. He played one game, got injured, out for the rest of the season. So if you take that, like, we were crying out for goals. That's where we really needed it. We didn't really need Congolo at the end of the day. There's certain decisions. I know, like, a lot of the transfers came late, and I understand that certain players only become available quite late in the window, or you get like a bit of a cut price deal, and sometimes that has to be done. But we did so many late deals to get players in, and that's how our start was just so poor to the season. That could have made a difference. At the end of the day, we didn't pick up enough points. That's simply it. We didn't beat. I actually can't remember any kind of mid-table team that we've beaten this year. I don't know. I can't even name one. There was a stat put out the other day that 46% of our points came against Liverpool, United, Spurs, Everton, Arsenal, Leicester.
How did I know I'd be in there?
So if we had any kind of results against mid-table or in and around us,
it was the resultant performance at places like Anfield, your second half performance at Tottenham, where there was only going to be one winner by the end of the game, and it was you, that made people believe. And the Everton performance was sensational. That made people believe that obviously you'd get out of it. What do the fans want at Fulham this summer? Is there a little bit of unrest from the fans towards the owners now? I know you're saying like Khan's not come out and said what's happening, etc. But Fulham fans looking for a change?
I don't know if it's necessarily a change, but there doesn't seem to be a clear plan. Like, okay, we can't go out and spend another 120 million or whatever we did last year, obviously because of financial fair play. And I understand we had to, get some loans in and get some cheaper price players, but all these loans are going to go back, and then you're going to have like Tim Ream and Dennis Adoy and Stefan Johansson and all these guys that they cast away this season. The same thing. It's like rinse and repeat. Like, are these guys going to want to stay around and then go back up and have the same thing happen to them again? I probably don't think so. So it'll be interesting summer. I think there'll be a lot of sales. There'll be a lot of changes. Probably Mitrovic, Frank Anguissa definitely gone. They'll have to get Seri off the books.
They're sellable assets, aren't they?
We've got some sellable assets this time, which is good, but it's going to be a big summer.
Anguissa is a good player. I'd take him. I think a lot of clubs would probably take him.
He is, but towards you kind of like, once we lost those couple of games that we thought we might pick things up in, a lot of the lone players just weren't interested. You could see like Frank, and I don't know what's happened. Lookman, when he started getting games, he looked really direct, running at players, very lively, and I don't know whether he got found out and players knew how to defend against him, or whether it was Scott Parker coaching what he was doing out of him and making him more.
From an outside perspective, it felt like similar to us, you had a bit of a change of system, or at least personnel, and that kind of buoyed your team. Maybe opposition wasn't expecting it, and then you're right, maybe it just got to a point where it became predictable.
Yeah.
Do you expect any of them loanies to join permanently, Dara, or is that just off the table now?
I believe a number of them were loaned with the option, but that was dependent on us staying up. So Areola had an option in his contract. Lamina had an option in his contract. Aina had an option. Who else is there? I don't know. For the money that was talked about for those options, I can't see us making any of them permanent. Like Aina was something like 12 million. Lamina maybe 8 to 10. Loftus-Cheek, not a hope. Like not even if we wanted him.
And Anderson as well, of course.
I don't know if there was an option there. I can't remember.
I think it felt like even if you stayed up, there was a chance Anderson would maybe go somewhere else because he really impressed during the winter months.
Yeah, he's been linked with enough teams at the moment, so it's a matter of shifting players as well. Like we've got like Knockhart that's off at bloody Nottingham Forest doing nothing as usual to get rid of. We've got Cabano who's at Middlesbrough. We've got Kamara who went off to France. Like all these players are going to come back in. Are they going to be good enough? Are they going to be surplus to requirements?
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned that, unlike in the cases of Norwich and Watford, and they've kind of been highlighted by a lot of people saying, look, they've kept the majority of the team together and come back. Your team is going to look more like the team that got promoted than the team that got relegated. That's how it feels to me. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I've heard other rumors that like Johansson and Ream were going to be going to QPR. Whether there's any truth in that, I don't know. There's question marks over the manager as well, whether he's going to be there or not. Seems to be a lot of interest from other clubs. I heard Bournemouth could be interested if they get promoted.
Why would he go from Fulham to Bournemouth if Bournemouth didn't get promoted?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I just think that this unrest or this kind of tension between Parker and Tony Khan, that it'll be one or the other that'll probably leave in the summer. I probably prefer it if Tony Khan left, because I just don't think he's putting his full time into it, and I'd rather get a director of football in there who's going to put in the time and the effort to scout players or whatever jobs that need to be done.
Dara, the way you described your summer transfer business sounds like eerie similar to like what Newcastle have done in the past. Like late deals, loan deals, cheap players, buying players that are injured.
Me too.
And yeah, well-run clubs that there's just no plan or strategy, and they don't have the contacts or the ability to actually execute on a transfer strategy. And that feels like there are a bunch of clubs, all us three in there, that operate that way. And if someone's in that position of, what's his title, technical director or director of some whatever, that
I think he's director of football. Yeah. Well, he
should fall on them, but it will come down to personal relationships, like it always does. Like who stays.
Yeah. Well, look, his dad's the owner, so look, he's going to obviously get a little bit of a buy there. I think it was before Christmas time when we weren't doing so well, and he came out and said something on Twitter like, "Oh, I think it was around about the January transfer window. That's what it was." And he said like, "Oh, it's great." And when I took over the club, the Fulham fans would have been crying out to be a yo-yo club, and everyone's going, "No." When you took over, we were an established Premier League team at the time, and we've gone through 2 relegations, now 3 under their ownership. So I don't want to be a yo-yo club, but it just doesn't seem to be a plan.
I just had a quick look on your website to kind of nail down what Khan's role is. This is quite interesting. Tony was named as vice chairman and director of football operations, and he also holds the roles of general manager and sporting director. So he's got 4 fucking jobs, mate. And when you got a problem?
Yeah, there was a great. I think AEW tweeted out something about him within the last week, saying Tony managed to juggle, like he's this role at Fulham and he's this role at the Jaguars, and he's doing this, that, and the other at AEW. And someone had retweeted it with that. The Simpsons. There's a little scene where Bart's playing chess with 3 different teams, and everyone's going, "Oh, look, this little boy's playing chess," and then everyone goes, "Checkmate, checkmate, checkmate." Oh, damn.
Done. Finished.
And that's kind of what it feels like.
Because you ain't paying proper attention.
Fulham ain't doing well. Yeah.
Nah, get it completely. Right, but... Do you want Parker to stay? Is there any doubt in your mind about that?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Because?
I don't know if his hands are tied behind his back or not, but like you can give out about late transfers and money not being made available or signing certain players over the other players, but after that Liverpool result, we had the fixtures there and the performances weren't there. So I think you have to lay the blame a little bit on Parker's door for that, whether he wasn't able to inspire the players or he got their tactics wrong, which seemed to be the case on a number of occasions.
I thought you played all right in quite a lot of those games. You just couldn't score, or you got into positions where like you would like failed. You did like a Joel Linton and just like not bother shooting. But like I honestly like being fearful, being a fan of a team that was going to be relegated if you weren't. I like obviously watched your games a lot more like intently than other teams, and like I mean football you played, you know, is good. Just that kind of end product.
Or like basically until the penalty area, right?
Yeah,
that's essentially it. Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit of FPL then, guys. This won't take too long, I shouldn't imagine. I want to start with goalkeepers, if I can, just briefly, guys, because so many people have had really, really difficult moments over the last few game weeks with goalkeepers. Yours is on loan, Dara. Do you think, does he definitely play on Sunday, Areola?
bloody good question. I thought they would have, when I saw Tim Ream starting at the midweek, I was thinking like, well, if you're going to give Ream a go, why the hell isn't Areola going to, or not Areola, Rodak going to get a go? Because he's definitely going to be there next season. I know he did, I think he broke a finger or he injured his finger a few months back. So he's only recently come back on the bench. That might have been the reason why he didn't start. Who knows? I mean, the last game week throws up a lot of different things. But if I hear anything, I'll definitely keep you posted on that.
Cheers, mate. Because
Have you got him?
he's what? No, not at all. I don't own Areola. I have done, and he didn't do too bad for me actually. I just think there's a lot of people who are in a desperate need at the moment who might be sitting there with 2 free transfers and have got the kind of the Southampton problem. Maybe a different problem with some worries about, say, Gator playing Liverpool away and just looking for a goalkeeper for
Meslier,
1 week.
someone like that.
Well,
anyway, there's all sorts of stuff going on.
Meslier won't play for Leeds because Bielsa's come out and said he won't play. The 2 I was looking at before 37 were Meslier and Fabianski. Fabianski got injured, Meslier got dropped. So they're both out of 38 by the looks of it now as well.
And you've got Mendy, and he might not play.
Well, I would have thought Mendy probably will play for Chelsea now because the game's too important. But the time prior to 37, I was thinking, well, if Chelsea got top 4 sewn up, there's a chance Kepa plays. So it seems so much risk. And I noticed as well, Si, you tweeted earlier in the week that you thought Darlow would play one of the last 2 games instead of Dubravka. Am I right in saying they're now both injured?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Dubravka, Darlow is. I actually thought Darlow was back in training, but it looks like they're either not going to risk him or it's just come too soon. And Dubravka might have a bit of a hamstring problem, so yeah, we might have. Let me check if our what other keepers we've got.
You've got Mark Gillespie,
he'll play.
Daniel Langley, who I'm not. He does look 10.
Never heard of him. Has he even got a photo on FPL? Oh,
yeah, he looks about 10. He really does look a young boy. I'd ID him, put it that way. So is it a possibility that Gillespie plays in goal? Are we?
He'll play.
What's the story with Darlow? Is it a new injury or?
No, he got injured. Picks up a knee injury. I think he actually had surgery on it during the March international break, but I didn't think it was that serious. Okay. I thought it was just a bit of a kind of cleanup job, but yeah, he's not playing.
And Dubravka, what happened there? Because I heard tight hamstring at the end of the show.
Yeah, tight hamstring. I think it was just a kicking injury. But I don't know. He might play, but there's nothing on the game, so like Gillespie might get a game.
Slovakian Dubravka, isn't he?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that. Good question. I should know this.
That's so bad. Dara, help me out. Did Slovakia qualify for the Euros?
I think they did.
I think it was Slovenia, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I do some work for you, Wafers. Don't tell them. I don't know.
Come on, Si, help me out, mate.
Yeah, no, they don't. They didn't.
They didn't. All right. So there's no need for them to go, okay, well, we won't risk you because you've got the Euros coming up. So I suspect Dubravka will probably play, won't he? On one leg.
Maybe. Well, I was going to say that it's a shame in a way that I think Swansea is still in the playoffs, right? Because Woodman would have come back and he'd have been able to have played for this game if he was ready. I think, or does he need to be registered? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with our goalkeeper situation. But Woodman next season, I think Darlow's going to leave this summer and go to another club as a kind of bona fide number 2. And I think it'll be Dubravka and Woodman next year, so he should be a 4.0 goalkeeper.
Woodman's been doing really well for Swansea.
He'll probably got golden
Swansea
gloves.
Fans are big on him.
Yeah, he's a good keeper. He's a bit undersized. He's a bit like Pickford, but his arms aren't as small. But he's like not a big keeper, but like he's come up through the ranks. His dad's a goalkeeping coach. I think he's got the pedigree. He won the England Youth or the European Championships with the England team a couple of years ago. So I think he'll make a breakthrough. And if he is our bona fide number 2 next season, and Dubravka continues to have a few injuries, it might be a good shout. Double Newcastle
I had Woodman goalkeepers nearly all of last season.
Yeah, I did too.
Even though he went on loan. 4 million. I probably picked 2 years too early, but actually he might be a decent 4.0 backup next year. I think possibly if he does. His reputation might mean he comes in at 4.5 actually.
I think if Darlow starts the season, like how many teams have 3 goalkeepers that are all priced 4.5 and above? Or Gillespie was actually 4.5. So yeah, they always overprice Newcastle assets, always. they should be like dirt cheap. Like again, like you look at the total points scored this season. Like how many players do you think broke 100 points this season in the Newcastle squad?
Without looking, none. I'm going to go for.
Oh really? Come on,
Wilson, surely.
Oh, Callum Wilson, yeah.
Basically,
right,
that's it.
one.
Exact same last season. Apart from, I think you had Richie because he was playing out of position, was a bit higher up. Almiron's on 94, and everyone else is just whatever appearance points mostly.
But Fulham have got 3 on more than 100. Areola, Ola Aina, and Ademola Lookman. Is Aina a cheap way in to cover something at the weekend? I'm not saying specifically by a Fulham player, Dara, but if you're looking to come down to sort of 4.3 level to facilitate something else at the weekend, is that a reasonable pick, Aina, or would you go something else defensively? Because he didn't play at United, did he?
Was he not playing? Oh, he didn't know. He played the previous game in midfield. It was like a weird. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what was happening there. It's hard to know because Parker seems to. He said before the last game that he was going to give the players who are going to be here next season, or the players who wouldn't be here, he's going to like drop those. So I don't know whether that'll be an indication whether some of these guys will be around or not. Like Mitrovic wasn't even in the squad. It came out and said he had an injury afterwards, but there's been weird that he's had a weird season. There's something else going on behind the scenes with him, surely.
Is it fair to say just don't go Fulham defensively?
I wouldn't pick anyone from Fulham. I mean, I don't know why we would have one. There's nothing to play for.
Well, no, that's the thing as well. You couldn't make a case for Lookman over Willock, could you?
Absolutely not.
Right now on form.
Willock's got a knock.
Oh, has he?
Well, they're not sure if it's fatigue or he's just got a bit of a bang, but I can't see him not playing because St. Maximin's also yellow flagged.
Well, Willock's got to play. He's going for Jamie Vardy's record, isn't he?
Can he really?
Well,
is it
consecutive
7
goals?
games?
Yeah, he needs
is it
about
7 games.
We scored 6 in a row. He needs about another 6, doesn't he? Admittedly, they'll probably be at Arsenal next year, mate.
Yeah, we can get onto that. That would be sad.
And the forward Dara, who do you think plays at the weekend?
Definitely not Mitrovic. Definitely not Maja. Probably Cavallero or Bobby Reid or someone like that. I mean, does it really matter at this stage? Neither of them are going to score.
Okay, right. Newcastle. Sell me Willock, St. Maximin, then side. The floor is yours.
Well, what? Just for this one game?
Just for the one game. Sell them to me.
Okay. I'll sell St. Maximin. Don't look at the FPL page because he's yellow flag. Look at his Instagram and have a look at his tricks highlights from the game at Sheffield United. Unfucking believable. If no one's seen it, like there's various videos floating around because fans took videos of it. He gets to the byline after like skipping past a couple of people, then does like a double reverse like step over, and then there's like a no look pass to someone. I don't even know if he passed to someone and if it actually like got to a teammate or not. No one cares. Honestly, I've watched that video about 1,000 times.
He's intent on entertaining the people of Newcastle, isn't he?
I mean, legitimately, is there a better dribbler in world football than him right now? I was thinking about this earlier. I couldn't think of one. Just like pure entertainment dribbler.
Entertainment dribbler, yes. I was going to say, I'm not sure I'd rather have Traore running at me. I don't know if I'd want Traore running at me. You know, the final pass would be crap. But I wouldn't want Traore
doesn't
running
need
at
to
me.
like put baby oil on to take on people, right? He doesn't need any of those under the table tricks. He's just pure.
Do you think those two players just interesting? Do you think those two players could play in the same team?
They play in my team if I owned a football club.
Do you think? Could you imagine fullbacks and their fear going forward if those two were in the same team on a counter attack? Bloody hell!
Yeah,
if you had to buy one this weekend, so is it Willock over St. Maximin though?
Oh, 100%, it would be Willock.
Why? It's easy to say the goals, but
he does something that I thought Almiron might have been the sort of player to do when he arrived, which is just like those late runs into the box. Like if I was to describe him as a player, and I honestly think, I'm not just saying this because he's been playing really well and scoring goals. I honestly think he's got a lot as a player and as a potential player at his age. He reminds me of he's like an athletic Frank Lampard. As in, he's got that ability and that timing and that nous to get in the box, and he constantly wants to do it. But he also has that running power with the ball, and that's why he works so well in our team. And it's also why maybe some Arsenal fans don't think he's like a shoo-in to get in their team. Like if you look at it on paper, you say like, how would he not walk into that Arsenal team next season? Particularly with like how Smith Rowe and some of the other younger players have done. You'd think he'd be a shoo-in to at least like, you know, go back to Arsenal, get a decent chance, at least get like a couple of months running the team. But the sentiment and the talk coming out of Arsenal is that they're more than willing to sell him if it's for the right price. I just don't know what that price is going to be now. He's just broken a Premier League record for consecutive goals for, what was it, an under 22-year-old or something. So
he's going to end up playing for you on loan for another year, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome, and actually might be the best outcome for all parties. He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's only on 20,000. If he goes back to Arsenal now, I think he's going to want more money. I would want more money if I'm back to Arsenal. I'd want assurances that I'm going to be in the first team, and I want a pay rise on 20 grand. And I don't think Arsenal want to give that because they haven't got any cash. So I think another year on loan, come to us. Probably not with an option to buy, because I think Arsenal would want to see like how many goals he could bang in next season and how much money they could cash in on him with potentially a year to go. But yeah, I'd be happy with another year of him on loan. He's been fantastic, and he's such a nice lad. Like you look at the rapport that he's had with the fans and stuff, and like I don't know if you've seen all of this "come on Maggie's" like banter that's sprouted up and where that came from. Have you seen that?
Go on, hit me.
All right, so I think it was after he scored his first goal for us. He does like these little videos to camera for like the Newcastle social team, and he was just talking, and he's like quite a nice, shy, like London lad. And right at the end of it, he just shouted out, "Come on, you Maggies!" And like it started off as a bit of a piss take, like, "Oh, who's this like Cockney guy coming up to Newcastle and like who calls us Maggies, right?" But it's actually become like a bit of a thing and a term of endearment. So you had him doing a pitch side interview, getting the man of the match award against Sheffield United. And like you had fans just shouting it at him, and like shouting when he was doing the VT piece to like for the social team, like "Come on, you Maggies!" And like honestly, I haven't seen a player have that kind of impact with the fans from like an English young perspective since someone like Rob Lee that like, has the potential to be like adopted. I mean, I'm talking about like has the potential to be adopted as a kind of like local.
No, I just mean that you haven't had that relationship with a player like that in an
English player. So yeah, I'd say for context, I'm talking about like a player that's not from the area that comes to the club, grows affinity with the club, and then always stays attached to the club. So like the likes of Warren Barton, he always does like media stuff, and he still like tweets about Newcastle to this day. Rob Lee's the same, and a couple of other players that aren't from the area, and probably never thought about playing for that club, but once they get there and they actually get into it and they understand like the passion of the fans and what it means to play for that club and that shirt, it kind of gets under their skin. And I think if it all works out this summer, like he potentially could be like one of those players.
Can you sell me Joe Linton for the weekend?
If we get I don't know what Areola's penalty record is, or your backup goalkeeper if he plays, but yeah, smashing penalty. He gets one of those. Willock's definitely not taking the next one, unless maybe it's the last minute.
Why did he take the penalty against Man City?
Oh, I fucking love that. I was like, cool. Shows bottle. 20-year-old.
Yeah, but Joe Linton's first penalty was ridiculously good, in fairness.
Yeah, but if you'd have taken the second one, I don't know.
Was it a case of a little bit like when he scores, he won't do that again?
The first thing I said when he took that penalty, I was like, why don't you shoot like that all the time? He always tries to place it, or like, why don't you just smash it? It clearly works for you. So yeah, no, it was a good pen. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Joel Linton. He's obviously got a lot to do.
Go on, Dara.
Apparently, there's this thing in South American football where if you scored a penalty, you don't take the next one. So Messi has done it previously. Suarez has done it.
Is that right?
And that's why he didn't take the penalty. That's what I read anyway.
He said that's why. I just assumed that he's like a bit of a pussy and just bowed down to a 20-year-old Willock kid and was like, no, you take it.
There's no way that Dara, there's no way at nearly 40 that's the first time I've ever heard that. But there might be.
That's the first time I heard it as well. Yeah.
There might be some logic in it. I feel like I need to dig out South American penalty takers now to check if that's a real thing or not. So if you were, let's say, a Calvert-Lewin owner this weekend looking to get rid of him away to Man City, and you wanted to come down to Iheanacho, Antonio, Joe Linton, any love for Joe Linton amongst the mix of those players?
I mean, you should definitely put Joel in the bracket in conversation with Ian Acho and Antonio. I mean, what?
Surely you've got to go with the form player.
Oh, by the way, Joel Linton's yellow flagged as well. Just
is he?
Yeah,
I'll scrap that then. Have you got a team at the weekend? I was going to back you to win. I might back Fulham now.
Big Andy Carroll. I take a punt on him. 5.1 million. He's looks like he's going to be on his bike or horse, as it were, at the end of the season. So Big Andy's going to play up front, flanked by Dwight Gale.
I was going to say, that's the one, isn't it? I can see coming from nowhere and being the game week 38 hero is Dwight Gale.
Was it last season against, was it Bournemouth that were relegated and we went there and absolutely walloped
him? You won 4-1 there, I think. I want to say.
Yeah, with Perez played really well. You might get some. I've got like a few tingles about like some of that vibes might happen, particularly if there's unrest with Parker and it's in the public domain, and everyone knows that things aren't quite going as they should. But Fulham, maybe, just maybe, it's probably too many yellow flags for that to happen, to be honest. And I'm disappointed that Anderson doesn't look like he's going to be fit to play. He's actually a young prospect winger coming through that should have got more game time this season than he has. But I think next season, hopefully, if Bruce doesn't shit the bed for the first 5 months of the season, he might actually get some game time.
One to keep an eye out for. Dara, if you had to buy one player from this fixture for the weekend in FPL, who would you buy? From either team.
It's definitely not a Fulham player, let me put it that way. I don't know, it'd be dependent on my team, but I'd probably be going for someone cheap.
I mean, Willock's 4.8. If you're talking about Newcastle players, like he's literally the cheapest and best player that we have.
That will probably be where I go. For me personally, that's probably where I go.
Is that the obvious answer for you, Si?
It's Willock for me. I wouldn't look at Fulham players. Another one that next season keep an eye on is Murphy. He's currently midfielder 4.9, but when he's played this year, it's been wing back, so he should get reclassed as a defender. And I think Richie's probably going to end up going back to being a defender again. He's like yo-yo between the two positions.
I think unlike Richie though, Murphy might actually lock that place down now, mightn't he? I don't think Richie's not the long-term left wing back, is he?
No, not at all. But he's made a big difference since he's come into the team. Since that bust up with Bruce, somehow that's kind of worked out for both of them, like amazingly. I guess you could credit Bruce for that, for being called a coward. So you're being screamed at by a Scottish Cockney
cabbage.
Yeah, and all of that. Like, I don't know how he's in the team, but like,
nice reference for the Villa fans. There.
Out. Yeah,
good shout out, Dara. Right, let's do predictions before I let you go, guys. For Sunday, Dara, go for it.
Well, I was at Newcastle Fulham 2 years ago, last game of the season. It was another dead rubber, and it was 4-0 to Newcastle. I'd probably go 2-0 Newcastle.
Wow, clean sheet as well. Fuck it now. Go on, Si.
I'm in shock. This is the first time I've ever come on Clash of Correspondents and someone has picked my team.
Probably be the last time as well, mate.
I was on it once. Bloody Tomo picking.
To be honest, I love Fulham. It's like it's the club that I've been to the most games at in London. I took my American cousin to them. I don't want to see us spank you, but if we do, fair enough. I don't know what team we're going to put out this weekend with all these flags and injuries. I think we'll win. I think we've got enough momentum going into the end of the season. Hopefully a couple of these players will make it through. Willock's going to bang at least one in. Joe Linton's going to score another penalty and then win a penalty and then let someone else take it because he's South American. He doesn't like scoring too many goals. So I'd say... But also on the flip side,
you just don't want to say it, do you?
I can't say I can't. I find it really hard to say Newcastle are going to win a game. Fulham's one of those teams like Brighton that the way that they play, if they're on it, like causes a lot of problems. Like I would never pick us to pick up points against Brighton, and it's been proved this season. Like 2 of our worst performances this season, and Fulham kind of comes into their category. I just don't know if they're going to score. So I'm going to go with 2-1. Maybe 2-0. If we haven't got a keeper, to Newcastle, yeah. That felt hard to say.
Si, I'd like to remind you that in October, you came on this podcast with Spirit Blues to preview your game against Everton.
Yep.
And I tipped you to win, and you did. And I wasn't going to, but Dara's on a right downer. So I think I was gonna go Desmond 2-2, but I think I'll go 2-1 Newcastle based on what Dara is saying. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way. These games on final day are so difficult to predict. Like, it could be 0-0, it could be 3-3. Both teams might just let go, or they might not be asked. Very difficult to say. Fans will met him. How many did you get in for that, Dara, on Sunday? It's just a couple of thousand, isn't it?
2,000, yeah.
That all? Okay. It will still make a difference. We saw that when you played Liverpool earlier in the season as well, when you were in a bad place.
We've only got the 3 stands, and then one of them's going to be like all the journalists and all the news and media stuff. So that's taking it down quite a peg.
Are they ever going to finish that Riverside stand?
Another year, apparently.
Really?
Are they replacing the toilets at the? I can't remember which end it is, but the horrific away end.
Hammersmith
end.
Oh no, sorry. The Putney's the away end. No, both.
Oh, yeah, the Putney. Yeah.
Pretty horrific. Yeah.
Honestly, I nearly fainted holding my breath walking through there. It was the worst. That's worse than like West Ham's old ground.
Well, I mean, it's the way fans pissing, isn't it?
The beautiful thing when you go to Fulham is when you go up the steps on the Putney end and you can hear the proper clanking of the steps because it's not concrete, and you realise you're at an away game you probably shouldn't be at. There's always a brilliant little feeling about Fulham. Everybody always says that when they go there. Plus, it's an easy one to get pissed at, isn't it?
I said I took my American cousin who's never been to a soccer game before, and he's a big lad, like a really big lad. So he's used to like the plush American sports experience. He's like, I want to come and see a real soccer game. So I was like, all right, I'll take it to Fulham. It was Fulham versus Birmingham in the championships, pissing it down. The stadium was half empty, so we ended up like getting seats right near the front. He loved it. He's a Fulham fan now because of that.
Nice.
There's quite a lot of American Fulham fans just because of players over the years. Brian McBride, Bocanegra.
Yeah.
Who else did we have? Dempsey, a few other guys.
Yeah, that's it. Clint Dempsey. He's
Casey
like the
Keller.
player he could remember.
Yeah. Josh from Always Cheating supports Fulham, doesn't he?
He does indeed, yeah.
There you go, yeah. Right, guys, thanks very much for that. So you can follow Dara on Twitter at the Tinkermen. You'll be back on in the summer. So too will you, Si, as well. You can follow Si on Twitter at FPL Fitler. We've still got another clash of correspondents to go on Saturday. Aaron Lagor and Ricky Saunders previewing Leicester against Tottenham, which seemed like a really good idea when I came up with it a couple of weeks ago, but I wish I wasn't doing it now. But we go into anyway. Deadline stream will be 1:30 p.m. UK time. Thanks again to Dara and Si. Good luck for game week 38, everyone. Cue music, please, man child.